Hi, I'm Marisa Janaku,
And I'm Michelle Wungsumanawi.
and welcome to By Association, a show where we talk about the connection between creative entrepreneurs and their collective drive to bring a product or brand with purpose to the consumer. A connection usually starts with a drink, and this is how we'll start our show, sharing a bottle of wine or champagne, and understanding why this bottle is special to our guest. We're here in beautiful Amsterdam on the Keizersgracht, overlooking Keizersgracht on a really beautiful sunny day.
You guys are welcome.
Thank you. And we're sitting here with Alfredo Silva, pronounced right, I hope?
Yeah.
Perfect. So, I know Alfredo 9-10 years, we just figured out. Back in my days when I was, blogger at janaku.com. Yeah. And I think, we connected because I think, we kind of enjoyed the same things in life. And you had started Fromanteel, your watch brand. And we'll go more into detail about where that came about and how that came about. But I think, it was also a watch brand that I admired and I really loved the aesthetic of it.
Thank you.
So it really, the connection was made very quickly, and I think on a personal note, there was a lot of connection there as well. We really, got along real well and could laugh together, which was a nice thing. We've kept that connection now for 10 years later. So that's how we know each other. Could you do maybe a short introduction about yourself, just who you are, what you do now, and then?
Yeah. First of all, guys, I'm thrilled. Thank you for having me on this show.
Thank you.
It's super cool to see Ajanaku and Maurice hitting the airwaves once again. And as soon as I heard about that, I was thrilled to participate. So thank you very much.
Well, thank
you. Something about myself. So I'm 40 years old, defined as an entrepreneur. Have founded this watch brand now pretty much 11 years ago, actually, before we went live. I'm soon to be dead. At time of the recording, I have 4 weeks to go, and then a little baby boy will hopefully pop out all healthy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And welcome to the club.
Yeah. I heard both of you guys are fathers, right? Yeah. Most importantly, I have this huge love for everything concerning understated design. Mm-hmm. So, to be very honest, I'm not sure whether we should venture into the entire watch story right now, or
well, we could. I mean, let's venture in there, but let's start. Like we say, we always start with that glass of wine. So I think we should pour that glass to then slowly have that glass when we pour into it. So I mean, we have a bottle in front of us. Why don't you tell us about it and tell us a story behind it?
So let me tell you the funny story about this bottle. So it's one of the rare bottles that I have at home that had zero mention of the grape and the region.
Okay.
It's called Mucho Mas. Mm-hmm. And the story that went about, I was once on my way to a New Year's party and searching for a bottle for a good friend to bring home as to set the mood. And this was pretty much all it was left. So I took that with me. And later on, we found out that it really tasted really, really good. But the most interesting is that ever since I used this wine as an icebreaker. Mm-hmm. So whenever I have company for dinner at home, we always buy one of these bottles to set on the table first. Not only because it's a great way to start a conversation, and second, this is a very accessible wine. Second reason is because I would like to talk about accessibility and of a brand and company. So there's much to say, mucho más to say about this wine. But if I'm to describe, I hope you guys will taste some forest fruits, plum, black raspberry, those undertones, a little bit of tannin. I really enjoy this wine, and I hope you guys.
And do you consider yourself a wine connoisseur or a wine
an amateur wine connoisseur? Yeah. Yeah, it's not on my CV though.
It's not your But has that been the latest development, or have you really had that for years? It's really been something you enjoy?
So, wow, no. As with watches, I've learned that I have a love for a lot of things that later in life, I guess it's about the age right now that we really tend to enjoy these things. But it started out while in college. Every weekend I would go home, and my father would be there waiting for me with a bottle of wine of his own choosing to discuss the entire week.
Oh, wow.
So how was it? And funny thing though is that we always started with pouring one glass, but then my brother joined us. I mean, as soon as the trains are arriving towards the village where my parents live, you know, all of us were studying. So my sister accompanied, and before we know, we had an entire family gathering around one bottle of wine that my father discovered. So that kind of like became part of our family story. And I guess not to sound an alcoholic or anything, but I mean, not a day will pass by without me drinking a wine. So
enjoying, that's a difference.
Enjoy,
it's
yeah,
different. An alcoholic drinks, you enjoy.
Exactly. Thank you for this correction.
Now you know how to correct yourself. So.
Before the listeners are thinking, all right, so
This guy.
yeah, what's that guy?
No, perfect.
So
I'm very
love
interested.
to pour it.
Yes, please.
Yeah. If you can.
Mucho Mas.
Mucho Mas. Let me try to.
But do you know where it's from and what the grape variety is now? Now that you know you've been drinking it for so long, I mean.
So I've been looking for it, and Mucho Mas is very minimal.
Yes.
In terms of what they communicate, I think it is a blend, and you should, as it is from Spain, right? It could be Trepanillo with some of the undertones, maybe an undertone of Malbec, but I'm not sure. Let it breathe for a while. Very fruity.
Really fruity, really nice.
Right.
Yeah, because the label, looking at the label right now, it's just a simple white label with basically typewriter type Mucho Mas on there, and that's it.
That's it.
That's all you get. That's all.
That's it. It's being very well appreciated on Vivino app.
Yep.
Also enjoyed by us at home.
Beautiful.
As well. This is so. What I like about this wine is that people, it's meant to be drunk. I mean, it's meant to be drinked, right? So you pour it in, people will drink it, enjoy it, and we kickstart a conversation, as it is very accessible. I mean, whenever you venture around and you discover other wines, there's such a big variety of types of wines that you can pour in, and that might be a little bit intimidated for people on the table.
Right, some get lost.
Some get lost, and then there again, I mean, you could pour in. You could be thrilled about a 10-year-old Barolo and just put it on the table and say like, okay, let's enjoy this. Mm-hmm. However, if your guess is not at that level of how do you say that, connoisseurship?
Yeah.
Just coined a word, I guess.
Connoisseurship, I'll take it.
Connoisseurship.
Copyright it. There you go.
Then there might be a gap on the table.
Yeah.
Right, and you don't want that.
No.
What I want is a good conversation. What I want is enjoyment and an appreciation for the company that we are about to share. So that is my first choice of wine.
Nice.
Goes into Mucho Mas.
And is there any moment when you've had that wine during the years that you've been drinking it that you could say, you know, that's a moment where the wine played a big role in doing X, Y, or Z for me? Or is it really just about that moment of togetherness?
Exactly. I wouldn't say this is a milestone wine or anything. I mean, it's more of an icebreaker, and that's how I use it.
Yeah.
It's the initiator of a good conversation, and that's it. People, and it's a great gift wine as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you can.
Exactly.
People will remember your Mucho Mas, and maybe they will not remember the third or fourth wine that you poured in. So that's
no, exactly. And you said the wine kind of reflects You brought this wine as well, accessibility. That is also kind of the base. And you started talking about it, your watch brand now you started. So I think that's maybe the base also why you started Fromanteel. Tell us about that accessibility and what that means for you and how you brought that into your work.
Yeah, well, when one consider drinking a wine, right? Most of us will have a little association of a time of luxury. Mm-hmm. It's what yourself just said. You're enjoying a good wine, which is you address a moment of your valuable time into drinking it,
yep.
Which is a luxury per se. However, a luxury, in my own belief, we all gain a lot from enjoying luxuries together and moments together, and that is what makes luxury something that you really trying to be part of, or to have some of it in your life. So when me and Martijn, my business partner, were thinking about coming up with a watch brand, which is a thing altogether, we were looking for a watch that we ourselves would like to wear.
Yes. And
back then we were just starting our first job. I was working in advertising. Martijn was working in real estate.
And where were you working? Which
I was working at Etc. And Etc. just got into this merger with DDB at that time. So it was like we were in that moment of time.
Yes.
And I guess with that merger, some things actually, some things really connected for me, and I already had this longing to become my own man, to venture out all by myself and to set something up. And I guess with that merger, it just became a little bit more clear for me to.
And you knew Martijn as a friend already then?
Martijn I knew as a friend for back then already 15 years.
Yeah.
We met each other while working at Red Bull. And we shared that passion for watchmaking in general. So we were looking for something that we would wear ourselves. Back then, it's 2008. Bulky watches are the latest in fashion. Big brands would make their name. Calibers with diameters of 46 millimeters or bigger would be no shame at all wearing on your wrist. But as you already noticed, I'm a small guy, so wearing that and meeting with clients would make some of statement that I'm not willing to make. But the type of watch that I was looking after, the type of watch that I was interested in was a little bit more towards that understated design watches, some brands that were more into the higher regions of price. So there was nothing for us at that time, right?
Yeah.
That was one of my first jobs, right? So I had a salary that would not resonate with the prices of these watches.
And what was the price range of the watch you were looking at?
So you were thinking about 5,000 euros and above.
Yeah.
So we decided to venture out and try to explore whether we could come up with a watch that will follow the same aesthetics and near its quality, however, being very accessible.
Yes.
Very affordable.
Right.
So again, to allow that luxury that you have by wearing a watch to be part of many more people's lives. So that's.
And was there inspiration drawn from other industries? Because I think that was happening across other industries. You'd see, of course, also that need to have luxury, but make it more accessible to others.
This was okay. So. By the time of recording, we are hitting a second crisis, but back then it was the financial crisis also kickstarted, right? 2008, 2009, a lot of things were going on, and what we noticed is that people were, tend to spend more wisely, and looking, having a second thought about their own budgets, and really wanting to buy some of quality, something objects of quality. However, not on the price level that I used to. So it also resonated with the philosophy of the time. Yeah.
And so you set upon, you said, okay, I want to make an accessible watch, and you came from Red Bull advertising, so you had much more the creative knowledge, I would suspect.
Right.
What were your roles at Red Bull and at et cetera? Were you more client based or more the creative?
So I was a planner.
A planner, yes.
I guess, yeah. Well, a strategic planner. Pretty much think about how the campaign is going to be set out, does the research, and brief the creatives. So yeah, I had experience on that level, and with Red Bull, I was also into the marketing of it. However, I've never done luxury marketing before.
No.
Right. So I was also curious how that would develop myself as well. Not completely believing that luxury marketing should be about how the French would determine luxury market. I'm talking about the Louis Vuitton group and etc. That makes it luxury about prestigious and very very haute at some point. We're Dutch. We're more down to earth, and we believe that luxury is about time, and it's time to the time that you invest in your objects, the time that you invest in enjoying things, that is also a luxury. So we went for most towards, we resonated most towards that belief. Yeah.
When you started, did you already have did you know people who worked at watch factories, or is it how did the process go?
So no, not at all. We basically had an idea, and we drew up some sketches of the watches that we would like to wear.
So you did that yourselves, just between two of you, drawing what you like and what you like to see
exactly,
in a watch.
Yeah. So we did some designs, not knowing about the qualities, the materials, and etc. How that would react. But so we draw that up, and we literally went on atelier hunting, what we call. We flew over to Switzerland, and we pitched our idea. Two ateliers. Yeah. It's like we're very excited about this. We would love if you guys could participate or make it happen for us to realize. It's incredible how we even thought about budgets. I mean, I said, listen, there's 10,000 euros in between the both of us, so we can make this happen. Right? I until this day I still see the Swiss looking at us and going like, you guys are kidding, aren't you? But we were that serious. So we did that. We ventured out to some ateliers, and it was in the end that one called us back and said like, listen, we're very enthusiastic about the branding, the idea behind it, and we think we can do something with you guys, right? But how serious are you guys about that budget? Because so yeah.
So you guys partnered up, or
we partnered it up? Yeah, right. Yeah. Knowing that the Swiss will have the knowledge, the quality feel for the product that we wanted, and
because I was about to ask, because of course Swiss made, of course, adds a bit of prestige, well, not prestige, but adds more to it.
Yeah.
Because if you look a bit nowadays, if you look around, left, right, and center, there are all these different mini watch brands are popping up, but they're putting other works in there from other places around the world, and you're unsure about the quality. I mean, was that something that was core to your concept? Said we have to bring that Swiss quality into this watch?
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, our commercial proposition for the brand would be quality at affordable prices, right? So we were really trying to move that needle towards quality until we hit a price point that made sense for our wearers. So with that in mind, we did visit the Swiss ateliers. We got educated by them how to think about watch movements and finishings and etc. And we really believe that if we partner up with a Swiss atelier, we would have that advantage when it comes to quality that we are offering. And that's basically what we did. And we grew our brand from the product. So we were very product centric, and all the branding just came later along. So as soon as the product was just right, in other words, we were not ashamed to wear it ourselves, then we knew that we had something.
And then you came up with a name, or did that come before that?
So that name was, we stumbled upon that name. What was also going on, what inspired us was the relaunching of spiker cars back then in that age. You guys remember that?
No.
It was
Yes, I do.
2008, 2009.
Mr. Young.
Yeah. I believe it was a Dutch entrepreneur
Yes.
that came up with relaunching the car brand, Spiker Cars, Dutch brand that ceased to exist in 1910s, 1920s.
They even had a Formula One team, I remember.
Oh, there you go.
I think so, a while back. I remember.
So, yeah, quite inspirational how he did this by going into, venturing back into a history and get all those brand values across that, I don't know, initiated all types of thoughts with people. That inspired us. We were looking for something to manifest that quality that we had in our hands, because if you come to think about it, a Dutch brand that starts a watch products out of nothing with guys that just like a kind of design. I mean, how credible is that at some point, right? Am I willing to invest in this brand? Yes or no? Yeah. So we had to think a little bit more opportunistic, I guess, and we ventured around and just really browsed for some more meaning, and we stumbled upon the story of Fromanteel, the clockmakers family from Amsterdam. These guys had set up a workshop here on the Dam Square. Around that time, it was called the Vijgendam. And they were literally making clocks. So I'm talking clocks, not watches.
Yeah.
And those that you see at your grandpa's house. The special thing about the Fromanteel family is that they heard about this new technique being used by a Dutch scientist that concerned a pendulum mechanism. And the pendulum mechanism was invented by a scientist in order to measure the movements of the planetary movements, right, while observing it. So this was a very precise mechanism that could venture even into the seconds, which at that time, and I'm talking 400 years ago, was not very common. So the Fromanteels thought, hey, that might be something. Let's send us our most oldest son to an internship towards these scientists.
Yeah.
And as soon as he will be finished, we might be able to implement those techniques in our own clocks. And they did. So they launched the world's first pendulum clock, which was able to measure seconds. That mechanism was compact. It was precise, which also led to the introduction of clocks being introduced into the homes of people. Accessible technology, right? So prices were also lowered to obtain a clock. And then a new luxury actually existed. People were not just venturing outside, watching for clock towers, but they have the clock in home.
Cool.
We got inspired. This happened just a couple of minutes from where our office is located here in Amsterdam. And we basically named our first series of watches after the Sons of Fromanteel.
Okay.
This was a limited edition back then.
Wow. And did you, was this a story that you just came about, or were you told it, or is it someone that, I mean, how did you come around that story and find out about, the Fromanteel family?
So first layer was a Google search.
Yeah.
We stumbled upon this story, so we searching further, but when it really got serious is that we got in contact with this, with the Zaanschans clock museum.
Mm-hmm.
There is a historian there that is specialized in Dutch clockmakers.
Mm-hmm.
And we visited that man, and he gave us profound knowledge about what happened in those days in the 17th century, and why this was special. And so we learned more from him.
So this was 2008, right?
This was 2008, 2007, 2008. Yeah.
So how long did it take between, the initials saying, when you're still at etc., and you're like, okay, I need to do something, and I want to do it in the watch industry, to really coming with your first line? And what were the kind of the highs and the lows during that journey?
There were only highs. I mean, in terms of setting up a company is a very exciting process.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everything that you come across, everything that you discover, will only make you more enthusiastic towards launching the company itself. So there's only highs there.
Okay.
From us visiting the Swiss atelier to stumble upon the brand name, designing our first watches, getting the first prototypes back. I mean, that's amazing. The lows, the so-called lows, will come after you launch your company. That's when the challenge really
call it
starts.
Challenges.
Exactly. One of the first is that the scalability of the entire project. For us to make a watch that is accessible, we need volumes. And at first, we were able to sell, say, 100 watches, which is a very small batch, towards people that we knew, or shop owners, or people that were very enthusiastic about the brand, and etc. This was before Kickstarter had anything going on online. So the first challenge was, okay, the atelier saw our numbers, saw our figures, and became very enthusiastic. And they thought, okay, so what are you guys going to do to finance the second batch, right? And how big would you like this collection to be?
Yeah, because the first batch was 100 watches.
100 watches.
Which you sold to friends and family.
Exactly.
And then you had to get over that first group.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's pretty much also the point where I decided to quit my job.
Okay.
Because that first 100 was kind of like a hobby project, right? I mean, you're selling in a weekend, you're showing off, and people are like, "Hey, that's cool."
Yeah. I'm so curious what you had to do to sell the other batch, the second batch.
Okay, so to put in some hard work, my man. What we did at first is that, first of all, we thought to position ourselves in the jeweler stores.
Mm-hmm.
So we needed a collection to be able to present as that, right? So we were aiming to produce 5 watches, which is in the lingerie, in the watch business, is a very small amount to base a collection upon. Something that we would learn very fast.
What's normal if?
A collection would be 30 watches.
And is that more to kind of have watch for every desire? Is that why you need that breadth in collections, because you're trying to appeal to different tastes? Or?
That, and the fact that the jeweler is buying in strategically, right? So he's thinking of his portfolio. What other brands do I have in house? What kind of clientele, clients do I have? What can I offer in terms of price range, narrative? And that's how he buys the watches. So, and he wants to buy a collection that stands and that says something, because otherwise it's like wasted space on his display. Exactly. Thank you. So we needed to develop there, and we venture out and we visited our jewelers. We did not know that jewelers were buying so strategically, so portfolio based. So most of them were already set, right? They had their brands, and a jeweler would carry here in Holland, 6 to 5 brands max, so that display space is very limited. Yeah. So we knocked on the doors of kind of like lifestyle stores, the upper range, which would carry a watch, but also a nice coffee machine. Maybe there will be even an Italian Vespa on display in the store. That type of mix. So we could actually enter quite quickly in those stores. We built out to 20 stores within 3 months.
Yeah. So you found that out by doing field work?
Field work, knocking on doors, really selling it. So 20 stores within a couple of months. And that grew within 6 months towards 80 stores already. So
and this is purely in Holland, or were you already operating internationally?
This is in Holland. Okay. This is in Holland. By association, by the way. So one store owner would tell the story to other. Yeah. However, the first challenge there was, the second challenge, I guess, was that fashion store owners are very much concerned about seasonality. So they think in terms of seasonality, and they would address us this seasonality by saying like, okay, so I loved your summer collection.
3 months later, where's your
exactly? How does your winter
collection
winter collection looks like? And we were like, collection. I mean, that is not something that is on our radar. So we knew that we might have the space, that display space there for maybe 1.5 year tops, and then the store owner would say goodbye to us because
they just look for other new brands to bring, because
they just want the hottest, latest thing. So challenge is we need to go to the jurors and we need to convince them to take us up. And that's what we did. So
and what was that? Well, I mean, how did you convince them? I mean, that you said it was difficult because you didn't come to them with that range that they were looking for, or what was that turning point for them to realize, hey, there's something in here?
Okay, so what we did know is that we were being sold very well. So we somehow we really resonated. I guess it was the price point, it was that understated design, it was the brand name. We were selling. And we pretty much convinced the jurors to participate in terms like, okay, you know what? Let us just display a collection here, right? And if it does anything for you, right, give us a call. If it doesn't, then we are happy to withdraw it. And there's no upfront investment and etc., which meant a lot of upfront investment for us. Yeah. But we were so convinced that it would sell, so why not? Yeah. And we did that with 5 jurors, and we got positive calls in terms that they were ordering in. Hey, I would like to expand the collection. So that and some testimonials from jurors meant us bringing the business a little bit further. And
So the Fromanteel watches were in the same display as the watches you were looking at, like when you started, like the 5,000 plus range?
Yeah. So what happened there is that what we found out is that the type of client that goes for the 5,000 euro watch would also be very much interested in the designs of Fromanteel, right? However, the 5,000 euro watch would be the watch that people would visit, revisit, think about it, etc. While the Fromanteel would be the watch that
you grab it, right?
They grab it. Yeah. They would buy it instantly. The jurors really liked that idea, that they would have visitors and people that could actually just bring a watch home within their visit. This is something that they were not used to see. So
I guess it's also offering more options, because I guess that 5,000 euro watch. I mean, I guess I'm one of those customers you're looking at, because I had that as well. I had that one that you invest in. It's something you have, but then I can't really afford a second one, right? But you still want to maybe change it up once in a while, style wise.
Exactly.
You want to have that, so then you offer that extra opportunity for those people. Yeah,
there was that opportunity, of course. What also helped is that we came up with this interchangeable straps. Right, and we built an entire collection upon that. That we were pretty much forced to come up with this while being displayed at the fashion stores, right? And that actually worked very well for us while being
just
displayed
the
in
strap
the
is basically here's your next season.
That's your winter collection right there.
We go from carbon to suede. That's the summer to the winter. I mean that's smart. I mean, so, you don't have to you don't need to change the whole product. You can just change a few elements to give that new.
Exactly, yeah, and people really like that. I mean, how often have we found ourselves wearing a watch for a very long time, and then that the strap is giving in, that. So be able to interchange to change that strap so easily was very welcoming.
And was your goal really? I mean, at that point, you're saying you're focusing on the jewel. You first focus on the lifestyle stores, and you go to jewelers, the watch stores.
Right.
What was happening with your online then was up and coming? I mean, was that next to it? Or were you focused purely at that physical interaction with the consumer?
Yeah. So online was there more to? Back in those days, online would work better as a showroom for us. A virtual showroom.
Yeah.
People need a place to go when they heard about your brand. Okay. It's like, what's your website address? What's your URL? And there was a possibility to buy, but people were not comfortable buying watches back then.
Because what was your price range at this point for watches?
We started with 300 euros.
Yeah.
And the moment that I'm talking about right now, right, we were selling for 500, 600 euros. Okay. And back then online, it was quite serious.
And that raise in price, so from the 3 to 500, I mean, it's a significant increase. Is that because you were just, fine tuning, getting the quality further into watches, and also seeing seeing people were willing to spend, 200 euros more for a watch at that? Was that what you noticed, or?
The latter is more of an insight that we gained a bit later, but investing in quality.
Okay.
Actually, just trying to figure out where that price quality balance would hit us, so we would offer a collection that would be a little bit higher price, but the quality was also better.
Yes.
Thing is that it's kind of like what happened to an entrepreneur while launching its product first. There's this saying that you should launch your product when you're still ashamed of it, right? so it's the right time, and then work yourself towards that point that you really can back the product up. So our first watches were having mineral glasses, and a mineral glass can crack, can break. And this is something that we absolutely don't want, because that's such a visual communication on the wrist of your wearer that you just don't want to be associated with that, right? Just to name a couple of elements. So we invested in better materials. We invested in better finishing. We looked towards more of a long-lasting proposition, because by that time we also learned that our buyers and jurors were also looking for a long-lasting relationship in terms of portfolio. So, I mean, that was. The price increase might be very significant, but it was also part of the journey that we were in,
but it was
developing
the
product.
It was still within the range you were offering. I mean, it's 3 to 500 is the difference between going up to the 5,000. You're still within that range.
Exactly.
So the reaction of the buyers were really positive, and the ones the consumers, did you see an increase or?
So. I think something that we need to understand is that we were not known at all, right? So the discovery was made on the shop floor. Most of the consumers have never heard of our first collection or the first watch. So we were still in that phase of introducing our collection, and each buyer was
new.
Well, it was new in some way for us to gain some insights about how to address this brand.
So you said your brand, not a lot of people knew you. So what was kind of your tactics? Was it really just purely get product to the people, or was there other tactics in these early years that you used to bring your brand to get people to know your brand?
So we tried basically everything, right? I remember having this back and forth with Jan Heemskerk. Jan Heemskerk was back in those days the chief editor of Playboy magazine. I was thinking, right? Playboy magazine. Now there is a magazine what my target audience would like to read. So I was having this back and forth with him, like, so what do I need to do for me to get a 2-page article in your magazine? First answer that I got, 0. Second answer that I got was, okay, so what's your budget? Back in those days were 0. So he was like, could you then just tell me your story? Let's see. And I thought, okay, I could write him a long email, or I can actually visit the guy.
Yeah.
So I went to his office, and we had a sit down. And back then he was just about to turn in 50, so we were talking about time in itself and the essence and etc. We just really had a nice conversation. Fun fact: years later, his son also worked for our company here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
You might have met him, young Heemskerk Jr.
Exactly.
There you go.
I thought it was him. I was like, is he working here now?
Yeah. We got a lot of those. So that really hit it off. And that was when he thought, you know what, I'm going to write that article for you. And based on that article, by association, we venture out and address more media, saying like, hey, we are mentioned in Playboy magazine. There's something going on. You might want to consider.
So it's funny. So it's actually not. So in the end, it wasn't a sales pitch that sold it to Playboy magazine. It was just really again that personal connection you had with him to talk about something that was of interest to you both time. Let's say.
Exactly.
Oh,
I think
cool.
it was the same with your blog as well. Right?
I think
We connected because of the exactly. We connected because of the personal interest. There was a story to be told. There was this way that both of us looked into the world of objects, but also craftsmanship and creativity. And
I think it was also there was a purpose to what you were doing, right? About the accessibility. I mean, that was in those days. I mean, we see it in, like I said, in other industries, but it was the first time I ever saw, basically I saw it as, the young kids on the block fighting against the traditional watch industry, but still accepting that they, paved that way, which I think was, a fantastic thing. And that's what, really attracted it to me, because I couldn't afford those 5,000 euro watches back then. So it was beautiful to be able to get that essence and that style.
Exactly.
And that price range.
Yeah. So it resonated with a lot of people, I guess. I mean, back in those days, it was really something that it's like, wow. And I remember even an article on a newspaper, local newspaper, Parole, saying like, who the hell would start a luxury watch during the crisis, So people say like, okay, you must have some love or show some love for these guys because they are just really following their passion. So it resonated, and I guess thing is that although the branding and the proposition was being commercially viable, I think that the thing that drove us most was a passion for the product. If that passion wasn't there, I mean, I mentioned in a lot of interviews that it's not something you should pick if you want to be rich. Start a software company, sell it to the next Google. Don't go into watches because it's a long haul game. And you truly have to love it.
And is that success for you? So it isn't.
That is success.
It isn't a number on your bank account, which is success, but it's actually doing something you love.
I mean, we would love that number, of course. But that is the definition of success, right? Being able to do something that you love day in, day out, talk about stuff, meeting people that are very relevant, intelligent people, interesting people, with new viewpoints in things that you're actually interested in. I mean, if I come to think about all the things that I've done in my life after setting up the watch company, that's amazing. I mean, the people that I've met, the not only the brands that I've got to know, but I mean the products, the events, it makes up a very interesting life. And yeah, I guess that's the definition of success eventually.
That's success. And I guess, this, we're mostly talking about way back in the past when you set up the watch, when you set up Fromanteel, right?
Yeah.
And now we're 10 years later.
Yeah.
What has changed with Fromanteel? Where has it taken you? I mean, is it still 500 euro watches? Are you still going to the stores? What have you noticed in the change of time? And
so we're still selling the 500 euro watches.
Mm-hmm.
But we are selling. So the proposition actually never changed, right? So quality for accessible prices. The thing is that the 500 euro watch is a watch. It's the best quality that we can offer for a battery-driven watch, a quartz watch.
Yeah.
Right. In 2015, we ventured out to a new adventure, which was the making of a mechanical watch.
Yeah.
That was the introduction of the pendulum watch.
Mm-hmm.
Our first automatic movement, a movement that is driven by kinetic energy, pulse, wrist energy.
Yeah.
And that really got us into a different playing field.
And that's, I guess, within the watch industry considered like that's the ultimate luxury is when your watch is
exactly. Some doors were opened.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, watch blogs. Good friend of mine has the monochrome.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I think they are now ranking number 2 in the world after Hondiki.
Oh, wow.
And these guys opened their door as soon as we start talking about mechanical movements. They are like, okay, now you're in. Let's talk.
You're in the next league.
Now you're in the league.
Next stage. You're moved up. Yeah.
But the conversation was not much different. So the product changed, but we were still offering a mechanical movement for under 1,000 euros. And these guys were going like, wait a minute, what? We're not talking about plastic materials in the movement. We're not talking about mineral glass. We're not making any concessions towards the quality. So we are having a double sapphire, anti-reflection. Yep. There are ETA and movements in the watch, completely 26 joules of automatic watch. I mean, this is the quality that you can get out of. Exactly. This is like the cream, but it's under 1,000. So they were like, okay, so that's interesting. Tell us more. That got a lot of press back then as well. And
this was kind of, I guess, going back to your Swiss partner in this. I guess working together with them to bring that price down.
Yeah.
And I guess a lot of the prices.
So we never asked for bringing the price down, right?
Okay.
Because that will. The funny thing about trying to make something accessible is not about saying like, hey, can we get it cheaper? Okay. The thing about getting something accessible is about saying like, okay, so what are we doing now that we can scale and reuse so we can offer a product of a better value for our wearers? So the thing about the pendulum watch is that we already developed the case material, the steel material for a watch that is called the Day-Date, the Generations Day-Date, that we launched for 300 euros.
Yeah.
And we found by tooling, and this might get a little technical, but we found by tooling while having the talks with our atelier that the same space within the case would fit a mechanical movement as well. And we thought, hey, that's interesting. So you mean there's no modifications needed and we can house a mechanical movement in there? They say like, yeah, you betcha. Wow.
And you already have that mold, let's say, and you have,
We were so thrilled, Maurice, back then. Just by hearing this, we said, hey, that's our door into the mechanic movements right there. So if we can make a design iteration upon the down, something that would appeal more towards the level that it's, right? We might be able to launch our first mechanical movements within 1 year's time. And we said about, I remember having this conversation with Esquire editor Gando Bronkhorst back then.
Yep.
I really wanted his opinion to weigh in back then because he's also one of the watch connoisseurs here in the Netherlands. And he was saying like, okay, so what you should do and what you shouldn't do in your first movement. I was like, okay, making notes. And I also explained where I'm coming from. So how the materials would be reinterpreted into a mechanical movement, that got him thrilled as well. And we were like, okay, so this is really gonna happen, I guess. We are really going out after 6 years of existence with a mechanical movement. Wow. We would never had thought we could realize that. So that was the introduction of the pendulum.
And how'd that go?
Fantastic. Really fantastic. That was really amazing. I mean, not only for the brand, right? Because there were some people that were feeling the brand. They liked the watches. They liked the design, but they would always end with, yeah, but you guys are not real because you don't make mechanical movements, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, okay. Yeah. But now, I mean, now they're like, yeah, this is interesting. They love how we basically kept true to our proposition, even venturing into the higher regions of the watchmaking. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
Okay. And now, for example, I see, you said previously when you started the watch, when you started Fromanteel, you didn't have Kickstarter.
No.
And I see now, you've kind of changed your kind of the way you start a collection, let's say. So, why did that come about, that change? And how do you do it now?
Also by association, my man. What happened there is that we had a setback. We were selling our watches on board a very known airliner. Mm-hmm. And that did not go well. Okay. I mean, that entire market within the airline industry was on decline. And they told us, listen, we know we placed an order, big order, very relevant order, but we're going to cancel it and we need you guys to pay it back. And we had a huge problem. I mean, we are not some big brand that can just say like, oh, we have enough cash flow going, so let's do this. So we had a problem on our hands. There were I believe it was 1,500 watches coming back our way without any destination, right? So just to be stocked up, which just to give you guys an idea, had a value of 400,000 euros coming back. Here you go. Mm-hmm. Nothing was planned, nothing was budgeted. So for us to sell that amount of watch, because it's one specific watch within the collection, right? So we're not talking about an entire collection. So for us to sell all of these watches would take an extra 2 years. And we don't have that time. So what happened is that we had a big problem. And I remember having a talk with one of my team members back then. And we were exploring Kickstarter. Is that a channel to go or not, and etc. The pros and cons. Until Martijn, my business partner, got a call from a commander from the submarine service, the Dutch submarine service, saying like, "Hey, listen, we're gonna be celebrating our 111th anniversary. For them, it's a big thing, and we would love for you guys to make a watch for us." And we're like, wow, this is going to be our first government contract.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Everybody wants government contracts.
That's awesome. But basically what they told us is like, there is no budget.
Yeah.
So you guys have to find a way to get us sold. Just please come up with a design. And we said like, all right, okay, we will think about this, but first things first, we need to spend some time on board a submarine.
Was that because you really had to? Or you just wanted to be okay. I was like, okay, good pitch.
Not at all.
We need to understand
we just
we just need to be on a
this.
submarine. Yeah.
I need to venture out in all the top secret thing, etc. No, opportunity.
I'd love to see those pictures, If
I'll show it to you. So me and Martijn spent an entire time. We learned the crew of the Bran, the submarine. Mm-hmm. And we spent a journey from Den Helder to Amsterdam. That's one afternoon with these guys. It's amazing. We didn't
No.
We didn't go
underwater
because that is that's top secret how they operate. So just stayed above, but still thrill. Anyhow, what we learned is that the budget was not coming from the entire service, but individual. There's so much emotion and generations of submarine servicemen. They would very much like to wear something that it's not the Rolex Submariner, that it's a wonderful watch, but it says absolutely nothing about their own service.
Yeah.
So we came up with an idea. We based upon a Minerva type of design of stopwatch, which is a Minerva is the type of stopwatch that commanders use to time the torpedo times on board, and the clocks and dashboards look pretty slick.
Yeah.
So we designed a watch that has some similarities with that, with the badge that we just returned, and we said, you know what? There's a minimum amount of orders that we need to take to realize this project. The project was born, and it was a very first Kickstarter-like project.
So you could take the existing batch you had, you just had to tweak it slightly.
We tweaked it, and that way we resold what was coming to us before it actually hit the ground. So I mean that nice. That was some maneuverability from our side, and we thought, hey, this is the business of the future, right? I mean, why not just present a design out there and say like, hey guys, what do you think about this? Right? These are the features. These are the designs pros. Would you like to order this? And we did successfully ever since. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's something that you always do with new models and new watches.
Yeah. There's new watches coming from, in terms of new movements, new complications on the watches coming out that we think like, okay, this could be tricky to introduce just at first.
Right.
Let's do a crowdsource campaign for this. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So is that the bulk of the watches now, or you'd say it's 50-50? Or?
No, there are the evergreens in our collection. Obviously, we're not doing those Kickstarters for those. No. But as soon as we, for instance, the Traveler, the project that you participate on, was a new movement within our automatic range. Could be a risk. So that's why we went on about it.
And you want to make sure you have the right demand before you do the production.
Yeah.
And is that really where you see it going from now on? I mean, what's the
absolutely?
What's the next things you guys are busy with and looking into the future?
So a thing that is hot at this moment is our second dive watch. For the next anniversary for the submarine service.
Okay.
Yeah. It's an automatic watch. It's a dive watch. I can show you guys. That watch is pretty. Yeah. It's a proper dive watch. It can go as deep as 200 meters and has some bulkiness into it, but still in our design aesthetics, following our design aesthetics. No, the next biggest thing for Fromanteel is that we are about to sell a part of our company.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that is some exciting stuff that's coming up. We're again by association. We're gonna do we're gonna launch in end of May a share funding campaign. Which means that you could participate and be part owner of Fromanteel from €1 up.
Oh, so it is actually so it's not like you have one investor coming in.
No.
What you're going to do is more of it's towards the share economy.
Yeah, so why are we doing this, right? Why are we doing this? We want to, obviously it's capital gain, right? To be able to scale the business further. Secondly, it's also about making our fans part owner of this brand.
Okay.
So we have this thing called the Fromanteel Club that you can be member of. And on the Fromanteel Club, we have now 14,000 members going for us. With these club members, it ranges from emails that you get about some sneak peeks or first ever introduction or store nights, exclusive store nights, or participation in Fromanteel events. There's the Generations Rally that we organize, and in September, classic car rallies and etc. You can participate as a club member. Super cool.
And is that a passion of yours also, I guess? And you were
Yeah.
Martijn. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys take part in that classic rally, right?
Oh
Every
my
year.
man, we just I remember just trying it out the first year and then going bananas after it. Yeah, we participated 5 times on the Tulip Rally.
Okay.
Became second in our 3rd year of participation. So
Because you guys were able to keep the time properly.
Oh yeah,
Because
it was all about the time. But driving that BMW 2002 from 1971, that's a classic. Really, that's amazing. So no, yeah, I have a huge appreciation for classic cars.
Okay.
So we started our own rally and just had the first edition last September, 2019. 55 teams participated, all club members.
Okay.
Right.
So all part of that 14,000.
Exactly. Yeah. And we're not just getting a lot of love back from them, but also a lot of good ideas, like great ideas, how to go on with the company. And when I was speaking with this guy that is gonna assist us in having these shares to sell, he was telling or we could do a share funding project, but most of brands are not very comfortable with that.
No.
It's like, well, we might be. So that's some exciting things.
That's something you're looking into.
Yeah.
So
bringing more people on board. Yeah. Basically, yeah.
So I mean, so now of course we're in these difficult times, as you say, with the
Second
COVID
crisis.
and so on, second crisis. Have you felt that in your business anyway, or because?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. We so the last 2 years since we had that crowdfunding aha moment, we've noticed that we should work hard towards leading the business more towards an online proposition. Not just because of most of the stores are closing down, but also because our consumers are pretty much shopping us online.
Yeah. So that's the big change, I would say, because you said, of course, back then when you started, online wasn't the proposition.
No.
It was mostly stores. You've seen that shift in the consumer.
Yeah, we've seen that shift in the consumer. We worked towards servicing the consumer better. And since 2017 on, we've been really reshaping the business. So for us, it was not just about setting up a web store, but also so what are we going to offer that this entire experience that we are building on?
Yeah. Because
you probably know us from events and etc. I mean, how would that be translated into an online thing? When we were talking about bits and bytes, I mean, how is that going to be the experience? So we worked hard on towards that, and now during this crisis, I mean, Corona was very unpredictable for a lot of entrepreneurs, and we hear horror stories about how businesses come to a halt and things are really looking tough for a lot of people. Yeah. And also, I mean, for us as well, because we are not able to draw an horizon and to where we're going to with this crisis, right? But the thing is that by working towards an online proposition, we noticed that
that was me, yeah.
that was you. You want some nuts?
Yeah. I'll take some. Yeah.
So by working towards that online proposition, we've noticed that there is some gain there. And so did a lot change? Yeah. Are we noticing changes? Yeah, because our stores are closed, and so people are not buying us offline, but they are buying us online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's the major change.
That's the major change.
That income through physical stores is less, so now you're gonna focus that.
Exactly.
Way.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, Dave talked about the future, and I'm curious, kind of what is maybe you could say the one or two things you'd like to kind of say that you've learned on this whole adventure, which which has started with in advertising and into Fromanteel. Yeah. What are kind of some some lessons learned that you'd like to kind of, or knowledge you'd like to share with others?
Lessons learned. Lessons learned are do what you love. Mm-hmm. Because there are going to be highs and lows, challenges along the way. And as soon as you find yourself just because you are chasing a commercial opportunity, mm-hmm. you will not survive. Brother, you will not survive. I mean, I think between us, we know a couple of brands that cease to exist. Mm-hmm. Well, we know each other, and we also know the brands that really survived along the way. And
yeah.
The difference is passion there.
Exactly.
I guess guys and girls that wake up dreaming about their brand, living and breathing the entire brand. I mean, that's what defined them. So that's what I learned, and having an open mind towards opportunity, because it can knock on your door in a very strange manner, mm-hmm. and you should be able to lean towards that opportunity when you think, well, or when you at first don't even have an idea how to meet that opportunity.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, so your son's going to be born in 4 weeks, roughly, let's say. So what's that one kind of, that is more an entrepreneurial or a business tip? What is the life lesson, or what is it that you want to kind of, maybe very deep, but what with your son being born, what do you want to be able to, what do you want your legacy to be with him? I don't know what.
Okay, I have no idea. Mm-hmm. So I don't have that answer ready. The only thing I know is that I made a watch especially for him.
Okay.
So it's gonna be kept in a safe until he's 18, mm-hmm. and that watch was made by his father.
Fantastic.
So I guess that is some sort of symbolism or mm-hmm. some sort of narrative that I want to bring on about. Mm-hmm. But the legacy, man, I want him to be his own person, really, and I'm sure he's gonna set out to do some amazing, epic shit.
Fantastic. No, perfect. No, well, I'd like to thank you for the interview. I don't know, Mike, do you have anything?
No, that's it. Thank you very much.
Exactly. Thank you very much for the interview. Good luck in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
You may phone me up if you need any tips. I need to understand. I've been busy for 6 years.
Crying.
In
the middle of the night.
You were just like,
Maurice.
But no, very interesting story. I've always been a fan of the brand since the start. Like I say, since we know each other, and I'm very, the shareholding thing is very interesting. We'll talk about that later. But I think, that share economy is really, being smart with that and figuring out how to take that. So, no, thank you very much for your time and,
happy
enlightening us with everything.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.